Inflation is a term that most people encounter in news headlines, economic reports, and political speeches. But its true significance often becomes apparent only when it starts to affect our daily lives. At its core, inflation refers to the general rise in the price level of goods and services over time. While a moderate level of inflation is considered healthy for an economy, as it encourages spending and investment, excessive or unpredictable inflation can erode purchasing power, create uncertainty, and disrupt the rhythm of everyday life. To fully grasp the impact of inflation on daily existence, it is essential to look beyond abstract percentages and economic jargon, and instead focus on the tangible ways it alters decisions, behaviors, and lifestyles at the individual and household levels. One of the most immediate and visible effects of inflation is felt at the grocery store. As prices for food staples such as bread, milk, eggs, and vegetables climb, households must stretch their budgets further to afford the same basket of goods. For families living on fixed incomes or those already struggling to make ends meet, even modest increases in food prices can force difficult choices. Substituting cheaper, less nutritious options, reducing portion sizes, or foregoing certain items altogether. The ripple effect extends to restaurants and cafes, where menu prices rise to cover increased ingredient costs, making dining out less accessible to many. Over time, these adjustments can subtly reshape dietary habits, social routines, and even cultural traditions centered around food. Housing represents another major area where inflation leaves a profound mark. Renters may find their monthly payments creeping upward as landlords pass along higher maintenance, utility, and property tax costs. Prospective homebuyers face steeper prices in the real estate market, often outpacing wage growth and pushing the dream of homeownership further out of reach for many. For those with variable rate mortgages, rising interest rates, often used by central banks to curb inflation, can translate into significantly higher monthly payments. Consequently, individuals and families may be compelled to downsize, relocate to less desirable neighborhoods, or postpone major life decisions such as starting a family or retiring. The psychological burden of housing insecurity can weigh heavily, affecting mental health and overall well-being. Transportation costs are another area where inflation's influence is keenly felt. As fuel prices rise, the cost of commuting by car, bus, or train increases, straining household budgets and sometimes forcing changes in work or school arrangements. Delivery fees for online shopping and ride-sharing services also tend to rise, reflecting higher operational costs. For businesses, increased transportation expenses can lead to higher prices for goods, creating a feedback loop that perpetuates inflationary pressures. In rural or suburban areas where public transportation options may be limited, the impact can be especially pronounced, effectively reducing mobility and access to essential services. Healthcare is not immune to the effects of inflation. Rising costs for medical supplies, pharmaceuticals, and labor often translate into higher insurance premiums, out-of-pocket expenses, and co-pays. For those without comprehensive insurance coverage, the financial burden of seeking medical care can become prohibitive, leading some to delay or forego necessary treatments. This can have long-term consequences for public health, as preventable conditions go untreated and chronic illnesses worsen. Inflation-driven increases in healthcare costs also place additional strain on government budgets and employer-sponsored benefit programs, sometimes resulting in reduced coverage or higher employee contributions. Education, often seen as an investment in the future, is also affected by inflation. Tuition fees, textbook prices, and ancillary costs, such as transportation and accommodation, tend to rise over time, making higher education less affordable for many families. Students may be forced to take on greater debt, work longer hours at part-time jobs, or opt for less expensive institutions, potentially compromising the quality of their education. For parents with young children, the rising cost of childcare and early education services can consume a significant portion of household income, influencing decisions about family size and workforce participation. The labor market, too, experiences the reverberations of inflation. When prices rise faster than wages, workers' real incomes decline, reducing their ability to maintain previous standards of living. This can lead to increased demands for wage hikes, strikes, or job switching in search of better compensation. However, not all sectors or workers are equally positioned to negotiate higher pay, exacerbating income inequality. For employers, rising labor costs may prompt automation, outsourcing, or reductions in staff, affecting job security and career prospects for many. Savings and investments, which represent the fruits of past labor and the foundation for future security, are also vulnerable to inflation. Money held in low-interest savings accounts loses value in real terms as inflation erodes its purchasing power. This can discourage saving and prompt riskier investment behaviors as individuals seek higher returns to keep pace with rising prices. Retirees and others living off fixed incomes or annuities are particularly exposed, as their resources may not stretch as far as anticipated, necessitating lifestyle adjustments or even re-entry into the workforce. Inflation's reach extends to the world of consumer goods and services, from clothing and electronics to entertainment and travel. As manufacturers and service providers contend with higher input costs, they often pass these on to consumers through price hikes or reduced product quality and quantity, a phenomenon sometimes referred to as shrinkflation. For example, a bag of chips may contain fewer ounces, or a streaming service may raise its subscription fee while offering less new content. These subtle changes can accumulate over time, gradually diminishing the sense of value and satisfaction associated with everyday purchases. Financial planning and decision-making become more complex in an inflationary environment. Households must constantly reassess budgets, prioritize expenditures, and seek out bargains or alternative sources of income. Long-term goals such as buying a home, funding education, or saving for retirement require more careful calculation and often greater sacrifice. The unpredictability of inflation can foster a sense of insecurity, making it harder to plan for the future and increasing the appeal of short-term gratification over long-term prudence. Beyond the material and financial dimensions, inflation can also have psychological and social impacts. The stress of managing rising costs can strain relationships, contribute to anxiety and depression, and erode trust in institutions perceived as unable or unwilling to address the problem. In extreme cases, persistent high inflation can fuel social unrest, as seen in various historical episodes where spiraling prices led to protests, strikes, and political upheaval. Governments and central banks play a critical role in managing inflation, using tools such as interest rate adjustments, fiscal policy, and regulatory interventions. However, these measures often involve trade-offs and can have unintended consequences. For example, raising interest rates to combat inflation may cool economic growth and increase unemployment, while aggressive price controls can lead to shortages and black markets. The effectiveness of policy responses depends on accurate data, timely action, and public confidence, all of which can be challenged in rapidly changing economic environments. International factors can amplify or mitigate domestic inflation. Global supply chain disruptions, exchange rate fluctuations, and commodity price shocks can all contribute to local price increases. Conversely, increased competition from imports or technological innovations that improve productivity can help keep inflation in check. In an interconnected world, events in one country or region can quickly reverberate across borders, making inflation management a a complex and dynamic challenge. While the negative aspects of inflation often dominate public discourse, it is important to recognize that not all its effects are detrimental. For borrowers, moderate inflation can reduce the real value of debts over time, making repayment easier. Businesses with pricing power may benefit from higher revenues, supporting investment and job creation. Some asset classes, such as real estate or commodities, may appreciate in value during inflationary periods, providing opportunities for wealth accumulation. The key is to strike a balance, ensuring that inflation remains predictable and manageable rather than disruptive. Individuals and households can take proactive steps to mitigate the impact of inflation on their daily lives. Developing a detailed budget, tracking expenses, and identifying areas for savings can help maintain financial stability. Investing in assets that tend to outperform during inflationary periods, such as stocks, real estate, or inflation-protected securities, can preserve and grow wealth. Seeking opportunities for skill development and career advancement can enhance earning potential and resilience in a changing labor market. Additionally, fostering community networks and mutual support can provide a safety net during times of economic stress. Financial literacy plays a crucial role in navigating inflation. Understanding how inflation affects different aspects of personal finance, from savings and investments to loans and insurance, empowers individuals to make informed decisions. Access to reliable information, financial counseling, and educational resources can help demystify complex economic concepts and promote sound money management practices. Businesses, too, must adapt to the challenges posed by inflation. Effective cost control, supply chain diversification, and strategic pricing can help maintain profitability and competitiveness. Investing in technology and innovation can boost productivity and offset rising input costs. Transparent communication with customers and employees can build trust and loyalty, even as prices fluctuate. Communities and nonprofit organizations can play a vital role in supporting vulnerable populations during inflationary periods. Food banks, housing assistance programs, and financial counseling services can provide relief to those most affected by rising costs. Advocacy efforts can raise awareness of the challenges faced by low-income households and influence policy decisions aimed at promoting economic stability and social equity. At the societal level, addressing the root causes of inflation requires coordinated action across multiple domains. Sound fiscal and monetary policies, investment in infrastructure and education, and promotion of fair competition are essential components of a sustainable economic framework. Strengthening social safety nets and ensuring access to affordable healthcare, housing, and education can buffer the impact of inflation on the most vulnerable. Technological advancements offer both challenges and opportunities in the context of inflation. On one hand, automation and digitalization can improve efficiency and lower costs, helping to contain price pressures. On the other hand, rapid technological change can disrupt labor markets and exacerbate inequality if not managed carefully. Policymakers, educators, and business leaders must work together to ensure that the benefits of innovation are widely shared and that workers are equipped with the skills needed to thrive in a dynamic economy. Environmental factors are increasingly influencing inflation dynamics, particularly as climate change affects agricultural productivity, energy costs, and supply chains. Extreme weather events can lead to crop failures, driving up food prices, and contributing to broader inflationary pressures. Transitioning to sustainable energy sources and investing in climate-resilient infrastructure can help mitigate these risks and promote long-term economic stability. Globalization has historically contributed to lower inflation by enabling access to cheaper goods and services. However, recent trends toward protectionism, trade disputes, and geopolitical tensions threaten to reverse some of these gains. Ensuring that international trade remains open and fair is essential for maintaining competitive markets and keeping inflation in check. Cultural attitudes toward consumption, savings, and debt also shape the way societies experience and respond to inflation. In cultures that prioritize thrift and long-term planning, individuals may be better prepared to weather inflationary storms. Conversely, societies that emphasize immediate gratification or rely heavily on credit may be more vulnerable to the disruptive effects of rising prices. Promoting a culture of financial responsibility and resilience can help communities adapt to changing economic conditions. Demographic trends, such as aging populations and urbanization, influence inflation in complex ways. Older populations may exert downward pressure on prices due to reduced consumption, while growing cities can drive up housing and service costs. Understanding these dynamics is essential for designing effective policies and anticipating future challenges. The psychological dimension of inflation should not be underestimated. Expectations play a powerful role in shaping economic behavior. If consumers and businesses believe that prices will continue to rise rapidly, they may accelerate purchases or demand higher wages, fueling a self-fulfilling cycle of inflation. Managing expectations through clear communication and credible policy actions is a key task for economic leaders. Historical experiences with inflation vary widely across countries and eras. Hyperinflation in Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, or more recently Venezuela, stands as a stark warning of the dangers of unchecked price increases. Conversely, periods of deflation, where prices fall, can also be damaging, leading to reduced spending, investment, and economic stagnation. Striking the right balance is a delicate and ongoing challenge. In sum, inflation is not merely an abstract economic concept, but a lived reality that touches every aspect of daily life. From the price of a loaf of bread to the security of retirement savings, its influence is pervasive and multifaceted. Navigating the challenges posed by inflation requires adaptability, vigilance, and a willingness to make informed choices. By understanding its causes and consequences, individuals, businesses, and societies can better prepare for the uncertainties ahead and work toward a future marked by stability, opportunity, and shared prosperity. The journey of understanding inflation's impact on daily life would be incomplete without considering the unique experiences of different demographic groups. Young adults, for instance, often face inflation at a pivotal stage, just as they are establishing independence, building careers, and starting families. Rising costs can delay milestones such as moving out of the parental home, purchasing a first car, or planning a wedding. Student loan repayments may become more burdensome if wages fail to keep up with living expenses, leading to prolonged financial dependence on family or the postponement of personal goals. For older adults and retirees, inflation can be particularly worrisome as fixed incomes and pension payouts lose value, threatening the comfort and security of their golden years. Children, though less directly involved in financial decisions, are not immune to the effects of inflation. Families facing higher costs may cut back on extracurricular activities, educational enrichment, or even basic necessities. School districts may struggle with budget constraints, leading to larger class sizes, reduced programming, or outdated materials. The cumulative effect can shape childhood experiences and opportunities in subtle but lasting ways. Entrepreneurs and small business owners encounter inflation as both a challenge and an opportunity. On one hand, rising costs for materials, labor, and utilities can squeeze profit margins and complicate planning. On the other hand, businesses that can innovate, streamline operations, or tap into new markets may find ways to thrive even as conditions change. Flexibility, creativity, and a keen understanding of customer needs become invaluable assets in navigating inflationary periods. The relationship between inflation and debt deserves special attention. For those carrying variable rate loans or credit card balances, rising interest rates, often implemented to counteract inflation, can increase monthly payments and total repayment costs. This can create a cycle of indebtedness that is difficult to escape, especially for vulnerable households. Conversely, those with fixed-rate debts may find that inflation erodes the real value of what they owe, making it easier to pay off loans over time. Understanding the structure and terms of debt obligations is therefore crucial in managing personal finances during inflationary times. Consumer psychology plays a significant role in shaping inflation's trajectory. During periods of rising prices, people may rush to buy goods before they become even more expensive, a behavior known as anticipatory buying. This can exacerbate shortages and drive prices higher still. Conversely, if people expect prices to stabilize or fall, they may delay purchases, dampening demand and putting downward pressure on prices. Retailers and marketers must be attuned to these shifts in sentiment, adjusting strategies to align with evolving consumer behavior. Technology is both a driver and a mitigator of inflation. E-commerce platforms, for example, facilitate price comparisons and foster competition, helping to keep prices in check. At the same time, rapid advances in technology can render certain skills or products obsolete, contributing to job displacement and sectoral shifts. The challenge lies in harnessing innovation to improve productivity and affordability, while ensuring that workers and consumers are not left behind. Government transfer programs, such as Social Security, unemployment benefits, or food assistance, are designed to provide a buffer against economic shocks, including inflation. However, if these programs are not indexed to inflation, their real value can erode over time, diminishing their effectiveness. Policymakers must regularly review and adjust benefit levels to ensure that they continue to meet the needs of recipients. Social cohesion can be tested during periods of high inflation. As the cost of living rises, disparities between different socioeconomic groups may become more pronounced, fueling resentment and division. Public discourse may become more polarized, with debates over the causes of inflation and the appropriate policy responses. Maintaining a sense of shared purpose and mutual support is essential for weathering these challenges and fostering a resilient society. International travelers and expatriates experience inflation in unique ways. Exchange rate fluctuations can dramatically alter the cost of living abroad, affecting everything from housing and groceries to entertainment and travel. Those sending remittances to family members in countries with high inflation may find that their support does not go as far as before, prompting difficult choices and adjustments. Charitable organizations and religious institutions often see increased demand for services during inflationary periods as more people seek assistance with food, housing, and other essentials. At the same time, donations may decline as households tighten their belts, creating resource constraints. Creative fundraising, partnerships, and volunteer mobilization become critical to sustaining support for those in need. The arts, culture, and leisure sectors are not immune to inflation's effects. Rising costs for materials, venues, and talent can make it harder to produce and enjoy cultural events, while consumers facing tighter budgets may cut back on discretionary spending. Yet, in times of uncertainty, the arts can also offer solace, inspiration, and a sense of community, underscoring the importance of sustaining creative expression even in challenging times. Environmental sustainability intersects with inflation in complex ways. Efforts to reduce carbon emissions or transition to renewable energy sources may entail upfront costs that contribute to short-term price increases. However, over the long term, investments in sustainability can enhance resilience, reduce volatility, and support more stable economic growth. Balancing short-term pressures with long-term vision is a critical task for policymakers, businesses, and individuals alike. Financial innovation, such as the development of cryptocurrencies or decentralized finance platforms, is often touted as a hedge against inflation. While these tools offer new possibilities for wealth preservation and transfer, they also carry risks and uncertainties, including regulatory challenges, volatility, and security concerns. As with any financial instrument, careful research and prudent risk management are essential. Education and lifelong learning are powerful antidotes to the challenges posed by inflation. By equipping individuals with adaptable skills, critical thinking abilities, and financial literacy, society can foster greater resilience and opportunity. Schools, universities, and community organizations all have a role to play in promoting knowledge and empowerment. The media plays a pivotal role in shaping public understanding of inflation. Accurate reporting, clear explanations, and responsible analysis can help demystify complex issues and promote informed debate. Conversely, sensationalism or misinformation can exacerbate confusion and anxiety, undermining confidence and stability. Looking ahead, the future of inflation will be shaped by a confluence of factors: demographic shifts, technological innovation, environmental change, geopolitical developments, and policy choices. While some degree of inflation is likely to persist as economies evolve, the magnitude, duration, and distribution of its effects will depend on collective action and shared values. Ultimately, the impact of inflation on daily life is a story of adaptation, resilience, and human ingenuity. By recognizing the interconnectedness of economic forces and personal choices, individuals and communities can navigate uncertainty with confidence and purpose. Whether through prudent financial management, civic engagement, or creative innovation, there are always pathways to security and fulfillment, even in times of rising prices. In conclusion, inflation is much more than a number reported in economic statistics. It is a force that shapes the contours of everyday experience. Its influence is felt in the home and the marketplace, the workplace and the classroom, the present and the future. By deepening our understanding of inflation and its myriad effects, we empower ourselves to make wiser choices, support one another, and build a more just and resilient society. The challenge is ongoing, but so too is the capacity for adaptation and hope.